2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host for tonight, and tonight we have a spectacular film for you from the independent film genre, as we are continuing our splurge into the X Strike Studios filmography, and this is the fourth film, or what would you consider this?
Well, I look at it as second to last, but
second to last film, and it is called Project Snake: Low Budget Espionage, and it was filmed in 2016. And I'm just gonna, 2006. There we go. And let me just read a little thing that IMDb has here about the film. So terrorists have seized control of a remote Alaskan nuclear weapons facility. Now the only man that can stop the impending disaster is the cigarette-addicted, cardboard box sneaking, guard choking, woman hating, gun toting legend of the battlefield, codename Snake. So, gentlemen, start your engines, because we are going to be going into this film full throttle. So, first impressions. What did you think about this film, Brandon? Was this a first time watch for you?
No. I've shown this a couple of times to people. When I look at the X Strike Studios catalog, of course, I'm kind of glad that we're getting back to this series. I always hate leaving things unfinished, as per se, and since we only had 2 more films to go and a series, if we wanted to dive into that, I was like, we're missing the best ones.
2 more films? Or you're including this one?
I include this one because this one in Resident Horror. But this one here was probably the one that I would show people as a good introduction to X Strike Studios, because it's probably one of their best. And if you're an avid gamer, and I knew the game that they were covering, they're talking about Metal Gear Solid, and I played that game. So I played that game multiple times and beaten it. So to me, this movie was really funny. I had been so excited hearing about it coming out when it was being released, because I had been hearing about that. Of course, we were still hoping for Ninja Storytime and side quests as well, which I can't remember what Ninja Storytime was supposed to be covering, but I know side quest was their Final Fantasy one, but they never got to it. But this one, just we were all like excited about it. Well, maybe not Jake, but the rest of us were excited about it. And when I got to see it, I definitely was not disappointed. To me, it blew a lot of the others out of the water. It was not, and watching it again, I didn't feel it was as cringy. It had some cringy moments, but again, you got to think of it not as a standalone. You got to look a little bit at the source material. That's why I tried to provide a little bit of that for you guys to look at. It's just for anybody who's familiar with the Metal Gear series, they would get a kick out of this. It was. So that's something I was overjoyed to see it again.
I myself, this is my first time watching it for this particular podcast, and I absolutely loved it. The only thing is, I feel like it was way too long. Way too much longer than it needed to be.
The longest film.
I think it is the longest film for them. And but I absolutely enjoyed like every single character here, in every respect. And to me, I felt like I was like watching a game. I mean, I really did. I mean, for a moment, they were going down one of the long hallways, and I was thinking, oh, I could see playing Duke Nukem down that hallway, or something like that, So, and there were some interesting camera angles that they did. I mean, the guards acted like Goombas. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the one guy was going like, I mean, it was just comical, and you wanted them to die, So.
Now, I will say, if you guys actually want to take just a little bit deeper of a dive, there are like you get some of the YouTube cutscenes and see some of the gameplay of Metal Gear Solid, the original PlayStation 1 release, and you can see where they took a lot of the jokes from and why it's got that level.
Well, I thought the jokes were solid. I mean, they may have been a little bit. They may have been a little bit cheesy.
Little.
To a little bit, not as much as some of their others, But and the accents that the ladies had, they got those down real bad. I mean, the doctor lady, she got her accent down. Even the white chick that was supposed to be a Japanese chick, she got her shit down pat, even though she was white. But anyways, Jake, what was your first impression of this film? And is this your first time watching this film?
More on what you were just talking about in a minute. I think I have blocked that from my memory. But anyway, this was my second time seeing this. This was one that Brandon had shown me way back when. I think you probably showed it on game night once or something, like trying to get everyone into X Strike. And I think this probably was the first X Strike one you showed me. Either this one or Resident Horror. I don't remember which, but they were both big ones. I seem to remember my first encounter with any X Strike was Brittany stealing the name of Edward freaking Lindsay for one of the games. But yeah, and I liked how in this one the same actor played a character whose last name was Ocelot and whose nickname was Awesome. It's like, okay, that's kind of silly. I'm coming from this from the standpoint of someone who's never played Metal Gear that I can remember. I probably never have. I know very little of the game itself. I know a little bit of that basic genre. I probably played a few of those games, but they were never my jam back in the day. That was never the kind of game I got into, and I just don't have much time for video games right now, nor do I have much time for doing random homework in addition to all this stuff on disc. So, yeah, my priority this week was preparing for the Spider-Verse discussion. So, and getting ready for our end of the month anime thing. But so I'm coming at this from the standpoint of someone who won't get a lot of the jokes. But as with a lot of these video game ones, I do get the general jokes. There are a lot of things that are general. Anyone who has any familiarity with video games will get. And one thing that I did enjoy very much was those scenes, the barely animated scenes with like the pictures of the characters with just the mouths moving and whatever. I did enjoy that. I thought that was a nice visual touch. There's a lot of creativity here. There's a lot to be said for the movie, but I did cringe tremendously at that. You know, I wonder about these people because we've already talked about the very bad racial stereotype of the Latino dude in River City Rumble. And here you have two of them. The white chick who's supposed to be this Japanese girl but has a Chinese name, which is like further adding insult to injury. And then you got the dude who I don't know if he was supposed to be an Indian or just an idiot who liked dressing up as one. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was, I couldn't tell. But without having more background on that.
Ass off at that Indian.
I don't know. And the other thing that bothered me is that and I'm sure this is related to the game. I'm not going to blame X Strike because I know these kind of games that probably, but the movie is just front to end loaded with so much casual misogyny. It's not even.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the game.
It's occasionally funny, but there's times where it's not, where it's too much.
I mean,
and so I don't know.
Oh, the misogyny level is like all over the guy about it. Almost.
I mean, even by 80s action movie standards, I thought it was over the top in that regard. You know, so it's.
but then
I
again,
don't know.
It's all relative. I mean, most ecchi anime I consider highly misogynist.
Yeah, it's like I said, there were parts where it bugged me and parts where it didn't, and there were parts where and of course spoilers as always. Well, there's a couple parts in this. When we'll get to them, I'll mention that I had mixed feelings about, but yeah. But like I said, overall, it's fairly diverting, and it's a much better made film than some of the others we've covered.
I think that the crafting, I really do feel like they've hit their stride with this one and Resident Horror. Sorry, not Resident Horror. Yeah, Resident Horror, which is their last one, which Albert freaking Lindsay is. Edward
freaking Lindsay, yes.
We'll hit that one next month to round out all of their movies, which will be fun.
All right.
So then we'll have covered the entire thing. They can do Dave can do a playlist on his site, and then you can just go through the entire catalog right there.
Right. And the other character bugged me a little bit just because I felt like it hit a little close to home. Otacon was a little bit.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So,
matter of fact, I don't know whether they'll be watching this, but I did forward the link to this video to them. So so insult them all you like, Jake. So they can hear you.
Forget what I said.
Yeah, this is all based on a Kojima, Hideo Kojima property. So
I can excuse some of the bad acting because
that's part of the charm.
Having seen this,
most of the acting didn't bug me that much.
See, I look at the character of Snake as like trying to be like Snake Plissken.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's basically the sense of what he's trying to do, and he's got some very interesting humoristic qualities to him. So I like the fact that he'll use a cheeseburger to knock a soldier out, or a fucking hot pocket.
Death by hot pockets. Caution, filling may be hot.
I think much of this film did not have a script. So to me, some of the stuff that he was ad-libbing was part of his character. What do you think?
Well, they definitely had a lot of it scripted, but I watched one of the commentaries. They had a running gag in the commentary about how there were dueling commentaries. I didn't have time for both of them. But they did talk about certain characters ad-libbing a little bit. But they definitely also talked about, he talked about the guy that plays Snake.
There is a script.
Yeah, see, I even have a page from it. So yeah.
Yeah. But the guy that played Snake talked a few times about how there were times he literally couldn't keep a straight face, and they had to cut away from him. He would do creative things so that you weren't looking at him smirking on camera. I thought that was kind of funny. But overall, when he could keep it in control, I did think he did a really good job of playing basically the amoral punch first, ask questions later sort of smart-ass character.
I actually think he did a pretty good David Hayter impression, which is the voice actor who played Solid Snake. He kind of, like I say, you have to check out the videos.
Rory O'Boyle is the Snake, yeah.
But yeah, well, I mean, that's the character, though. Snake was kind of a combination. And again, Hideo Kojima is the one that we have to thank for that. And I know I know at least Jake has heard of that name.
Oh, yeah. I know that.
And yes, misogyny is definitely a Hideo Kojima thing. He created a character in Metal Gear Solid 5 that is wears hardly any clothes. And the excuse he used for her not wearing much clothes is that, well, she needs to have as much skin bare as possible to breathe.
So she's an amphibian.
Yet she doesn't have to be wet. Well, and that's but, it's so we got to keep this in mind.
At least not in that sense. No.
So let's look at the plot. So in the very beginning of the film, we get a kind of a Mission Impossible kind of a vibe with the Max Headroom speaking ish, where their mouths are just moving, and it's kind of computeristic. And so he's talking to this sergeant, evidently, that evidently he saved his life at one point in time. Your mission,
which we choose to accept it,
right? Is to go and save the dude, find the plans, and then get the fuck out of there, basically.
I don't really get quite the. I don't see so much a Mission Impossible vibe there as if you want to use the movie templates. You could think of it as sort of a combination of like your typical Rambo / Hot Shots Part 2 sort of setup with a dash of Steven Seagal, you know.
Well, I look at Snake as a combination of Snake Plissken, which is an inspiration for the character, and James Bond. And
Daniel Craig James Bond, maybe Timothy Dalton, definitely not one of the more charming.
Yeah, well, obviously not. But still, he was like maybe the book James Bond. Because he was not more of a brash, less refined type of Bond.
More like the Daniel Craig version.
Yeah, like Daniel Craig.
Yeah, because the doctor, the female doctor, was kind of like the Penny, the Penny Honey or whatever, the James Bond. Honey Penny. There we go.
Yeah, a little bit.
Now, what's funny is those scenes where they communicate with each other on the codec, which I can't remember whether they called it the codec in the movie or not.
Yeah.
Where? You brought me your toy, huh, Cat?
Mr. Anderson's in there.
Oh, you see him. He was dragging his toy to me. So I'm going to get a cat yelling at me in a minute.
Well, we got one who's about to get in some trouble here, too.
Those scenes are not all that different from how they look in the game. They're a little bit... The animation's a little bit less in the movie than the game, but not by much.
Right.
What I like is how they're explaining how the game works by saying press the B button, but then trying to put it away is like, well, this is how we punch. It's like,
push
okay, wink
select.
your eye.
Push select. What? How do I push select? Oh, it's in your forehead or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, that was fun. You know, it's like I said, when they were really riffing on general video game tropes and whatever. Another thing that they said repeatedly in the commentary is that they claim there's a whole bunch of airplane references and stuff like that. So there's some.
I just wanted to say hello, hello, Liquid. Thanks for listening to us. Tim Ekebus played Liquid in the film. The film is actually tuning in.
Most appreciated. That was awesome.
It was quite fun.
See, he's listening to your comments, Jake.
Like I said, I don't blame you so much as.
I just again, I had to play the game right after watching.
I did like the early introduction of the villains where they're sitting around playing that knockoff Risk, and he's just chowed away on the.
So, what do we think about the character of the Darka Chief? Is that what his name is pretty much in here? The Darka Chief?
I think that's pretty much what they call him. That would be Casey Bowker. Casey Bowker,
in the role of the Darka Chief. And he is supposedly has been saved by Snake at one point in time in his life. And that's kind of why he's chosen him to go on this random mission.
Well, not the Darka Chief. No, the Colonel's the one that's naked.
Yeah, the Colonel.
Actually, I love that scene that they did where he's going in there. He just goes, he's like tearing the crap out of this.
The flashback scene.
Oh, the flashback where he's just like viciously attacking him. The Colonel looks like he's sort of shocked for a moment. And it's like.
The Colonel is Stephen Smith.
Yes.
I believe is a staple of these movies, if I remember correctly.
Wasn't he? Yeah. He played the kind of villain in Silent Horror, I believe.
Actually, no. I guess he was maybe not. It's IMDb only lists his other role as P. Rappa as is PJ in that one. Huh?
I swear. Well, then again,
I know Corey Bowker that we were talking about, but Casey Bowker is the one that plays the lead in Resident Horror. I remember that nice old basketball weapon.
I can't wait till we get to that one next month as well. That's I swear those two are my favorite. Though I have a very soft spot.
Casey Bowker is actually in quite a few movies that I know of. With Anal Paprika 3, Menage a Death. He was very much a character actor with Perceiver.
He was in a movie we didn't care for much.
What, Filthy McNasty?
Yeah, Filthy McNasty was.
I just picked up the trilogy.
Love the name. I do love the name.
I remember him in Deathbone, Third Blood. This is not his. This is not his only Rambo-inspired film.
All right.
So he played Von Drook in Deathbone, Third Part 7, the Blood of Deathbone.
So Snake, our main dude, Rory O'Boyle, doesn't have many credits, but one of them is he's credited as Gobblescat in Resident Horror. Oh, that would be fun to look at. And he also is credited as the voice of Buddy 2 in Press Start 2 Continue. We will have to do the Press Start movies eventually. That's
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're going into that, they really are a natural set of movies to go into after.
Right. Good time. So how far did we get on the plot?
Well, I mean, of
Well,
course,
the plot, okay, so Snake gets sent in
Right.
to apparently this this site that he doesn't even know what it is. You
Right.
know, he's just following orders. You know, so he gets in, and he comes in through the grate, and suddenly he just appears
I did like that.
in dude's room, and he's like, who are you? You know, and so he explains himself and says, "Shut up and listen. I'm here to save your sorry ass."
Dude, just like that.
And so obviously there is one other person, a female, that he did not know that he would have to rescue as well, which kind of becomes like a love interest with him.
sort of.
I guess.
More like the Klingeron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Would be
what
love
did we-
interest.
what did we think about the next thing that we heard? That supposedly that what was the group called? Were they called Metal Gear?
Well, Metal Gear is the tank, the
Right.
massive robot at the end.
Okay,
And the name of the
but-
series, yeah, Metal Gear. I can't remember what it was called because Rex was the name of the one in the game,
Mhm.
and they gave it some other name, kind of a. I felt like it was fairly clever, like thrown, but I can't think of the.
I feel like
thing.
he said something about a flare or something like that, but I don't
Metal Gear
remember.
Flare.
Yeah.
Well, let's just call them the Darka group or whatever, because I feel like that's
We call them the
somewhat
bad
close.
guys.
The bad guys. There we go. The
But,
bad guys.
yeah, that whole scene where he's with, I guess she's named Meryl there as well.
Right.
But and I know one thing you probably would take issue with would be his the whole butt thing that they do with her running away.
Well, again, I kind of looked at that and I was like, well, that's not something most people would try to get away with.
But you want to know what's funny?
Not nowadays.
Is that exact scene and him talking about it,
Right?
with saying that's how I identified you by
I'm
that.
sure that's straight from the game.
That was looking straight
I
from
bet it was.
almost word for word, but not quite. I don't think he said visible panty line.
When did this game first come out?
It was what, the late 90s? It was in the PlayStation 1 era. So
it was definitely the era where that sort of thing was absolutely commonplace and accepted in anime at the time. I'm sure it was in video games as well.
98.
Yeah.
Yeah, 98.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Kojima hasn't changed.
So ultimately, he runs into this trench coat mafia looking crew because they're all wearing trench coats. Whether or not they're the same trench coat, that's a different story.
They probably are. They probably are recycled from one to the next, and as one disappears, it migrates to the next one.
Well, in any case, they look like variations of Doctor Who, just a little bit. But you get the sense that they're working for someone, and they are trying to keep this whole plan a secret. And there are these army looking dudes who don't seem to know how to act like they're army dudes.
Well, that's a play on how
they might be the ones I was thinking of. Those must be the ones I was thinking of. Never mind.
There is this moment. There is this moment where he runs into the niece, and she's not shooting at anything. So he starts to tell her, "Hey, at least shoot something," because he'd already been shooting, and he lets her do a lot of the shooting, and she's like, "Well, thanks a lot for nothing."
He wasn't
But,
nothing. He was yelling.
I feel like the yelling was. I feel like the yelling went on a little bit too long, though.
Yeah, I
feel
wasn't
like-
sure the point of that, but
I mean,
I'm sure that
Um,
was. Hmm?
no, I won't have as much on the game as we go forward, because I'm
Once or twice,
It was-
twice screaming was okay, but like 700 times, that's.
I did like how they had they had them on like the bench and they were moving them forward like this.
Right, and then they just pulled it back,
Right.
and then the one guy was reading a book. The one guy was washing the wall.
Right.
That
Yeah,
part
I
of
mean,
the
at
game,
that
I just
point,
remember
at
shoot 'em
that
all.
point, you're just being mean, you know? They weren't doing anything to you.
Right? They weren't. They didn't. Some of them didn't even carry any guns. So
Right.
it was
Actually, there
like-
was one earlier scene I liked where he was getting toward the compound but hadn't gone in. And they said something. I can't remember if it was Dr. Hunter or Colonel who said something about how enhanced their senses were and their ability to see and hear and everything. And he's sitting there plain as day. Dude walks up next to him, looks a little bit left, a little bit right, and turns around and walks away. And he's just like, I don't think that'll be a problem.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good.
Well, and at some point he was told by the colonel that he was to somehow get together with his niece, and so when he did finally contact her through the codex, that's about when the ninja showed up and then disappeared somewhat later.
Well, the ninja showed up when he was talking to the other, was it president, I guess, of whatever? Yeah. The President Baker, who's played by Weiss Cutler. And they were being threatened by Adam Ocelot.
Yeah.
Ocelot. The Rich Durham character, which was kind of a fun character. He was,
I actually really like the character in the game. He's kind of he's a villain that you see in a lot of the games, the later games, because he's in Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So he makes appearances in all of those. So it is. They even make a joke about his appearance in the second ones. Like later on, it's like, do you know somebody who can like reattach a hand or something like that? Which.
Well, he was in Silent Horror as Gabriel Augustine.
Right.
He was in River City Rumble as Merlin. He was in P-Rappa's Ninth Mile Dilemma as Chop Chop.
And then he plays Edward freaking Lindsay. You gotta say the freaking.
One of the most memorable characters in that movie.
Yes, he has my favorite line, and I can't remember what it was precisely, but I'll mention it during the next one. But there was kind of a similar line in this one that I liked, and again, that was that initial part where the three of them, like him and Liquid, and what was the other one called? Mensa Locust, I think, the Ben Lathan character. When they're sitting around playing that game, and Mensa makes the line of something like, I think the line was something along the lines of, I have 3 ideas. 2 of them are bad, but one of them is good. I was like, I like that. That was pretty good. But Lindsay has a similar line that we'll get to when we get. But yes.
But ultimately, he has several showdowns with the ninja, who evidently was a soldier at one point in time that he had killed in, what was it, land?
Zanzibar land, which
Zanzibar land, yes.
Which was taken out of the real game.
Yeah.
You really can't make up a lot of this stuff as easily as all that. A lot of the convoluted craziness that you think is not like something that they made up was lifted from the game because the game was just that the story was just off the wall. And Kojima is known for that. His just almost insanity when he goes around and just starts talking about all these different plot points.
Oh, and speaking of, we totally neglected to mention that all the action takes place on Shadow Jesus Island. I mean,
right? Shadow Jesus Island.
Which take of what do they call it? Shadow Moses was the
okay.
Was the original name. So
oh, that sounds like the start of a really weird superhero team.
Holy Moses and Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And of course, we did forget one that I know you probably are trying to forget, which is that we've talked a little bit about the Asian character that they had there,
Yes.
which also was played in the game as a stereotype, which you'd think, but was played as a Chinese stereotype. So there's a part that wonders if that was a dig at Kojima for basically making her a stereotype by making her a combined stereotype.
And if you want to look at it that way, and I don't mind looking at it that way, it could be. Like I said, I would have liked if they had addressed it at some point in the commentary so I'd have a better idea where they were coming from. Because this is something that could be all sorts of wrong. But if there was a point behind it, I do know that in a lot of video games, including a lot of them from that era, there are blatant.
She was like doing like Confucius readings for the save point of the game for the video game. So it's
like one part that did amuse me a little bit along those lines was where the colonel unwisely put a sheet of paper in front of her and said, "Can you do something with this?" And then she's made a paper crane in like 5 seconds.
Right.
I also like we said coffee, and she's like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
And of course, there is the fact that he does start drinking Windex.
Yes. Which, of course, I can't say that without thinking about my big fat Greek wedding with the guy who put some Windex on it.
So
that's, but yeah. What's up?
I guess it moves
There's
close.
another.
Was it Otacon or was it the fight with the psychic that they had next? I cannot remember which one.
I think that was both. Like I think didn't he? No, he fought the ninja with Otacon.
Yeah, ninja with Otacon.
It might have been the psychic after that.
And the doctor was hiding underneath that desk the whole time.
Yeah. Now, I'll admit, and of course, Otacon is played by Vincent Milla, and he did do a really good job of playing a sniveling little Poindexter. He did a really good job of it.
He didn't dance in the movie, did he? Did he pee his pants in the movie?
I don't think so, but he probably wanted to.
In the game, he peed his pants. That was.
And this is like the poster child. He's like the poster child. You definitely see ogres in there. Nerd.
You know, it's weird. I feel like they were being kinder to him than the game was.
Probably.
Which is
probably. But I didn't quite like the way they kind of painted his weakness being synonymous with being an anime fan.
Like Japanese anime.
Yeah. That was. But there were moments of amusement with that. But yeah. And like Zed, again, most of the performances were pretty solid, at least for what they seem to be going for.
Oh,
yeah. And then wasn't it about this time that we also meet the Russian assassin? Or
sort of, because he's supposed to snipe take a sniper and snipe her
Mhm.
her out. And Dr. Ottawa, instead of him going to the armory, he's like, "Here, I just made this,"
Mhm.
and he throws him a sniper gun. A gun. He's like, "Really?"
I think we skipped the whole psychic guy battle. That came beforehand, I know. Because
Okay.
they go loosely in the order of the game, and I know that he's before Sniper. I mean, not Sniper Wolf. That's the game name. Where the psychic guy, of course, takes control of Meryl,
Yeah.
hoping to use her against
Right.
him. Essentially, his love for her. She's like,
Oh yeah, he's got
you're not gonna really again?
he's got this like old like gas mask that looks like something
Yeah.
that a crop duster would have worn or something like that,
Right.
To after he's put some Agent Orange over a cornfield, he'll go down and inspect what he's done.
I do like
But,
that he had a naked lady poster there.
Oh yeah.
He wanted the mask on so he could put that before he died.
Please put the mask back on.
he was an interesting character because he tried to make it look like the fact that the phone was ringing was part of his power. As he was like, that's my awesome power.
Yeah.
Fear me.
He does some fun things like that in the game. He makes the controller vibrate if you got the vibrating controller. But if you didn't get one, he's talking about getting the controller vibrate, and you're like, yeah, you didn't do that. Read your memory card and talk about what games you've been playing.
I'm sure there are a lot of people. Huh?
He doesn't use the Benny Hill theme though when he attacks.
Oh.
I bet you for some people that would be a good psychic attack. I know what you've been playing.
That was pretty funny, the Benny Hill theme playing throughout that, the music. God. But what did we think about the Russian assassin?
Well, she was a drug addict.
Yeah.
I did like her accent. I didn't really feel like she had a fake accent at all. I mean, it did really feel like she knew how to speak English Russian. So, and she pulled off that
English, Mother Russia. Do you speak it?
that whole that whole boy toy scene where she was like, once I find my target, I never miss thing. She's got, and then of course,
well, I mean to.
Of course, later we get Dr. or Adam Oslet saying, "Be careful." Once she finds her a target, she never misses, and oftentimes she falls in love with them.
Yeah, also taking the game.
Yeah.
This makes you want to play the game more, right?
So she's like she's like a weird mashup of DC's Cupid with Black Widow and Molotov cocktease.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do we think about the whole fact that Snake's brother is the protagonist of the entire film?
The protagonist.
I agree.
He is. Snake is clearly the villain of the piece.
Well, one could
You thi-
one could do the whole thing. Well, but is he? You know, that sort of thing, especially with the
Yeah.
game. But I mean, and we neglect to
I don't know.
look at
It's
the whole.
Dr. Evil.
But we neglect also that almost everybody that he runs into has these heart attacks and dies.
Yeah, that's true.
Mysteriously.
Yes. That's not a good sign. Not a good sign at
No.
all.
Which kind of goes back to the whole Snake Plissken thing, because in each film he was injected with something that would kill him within a certain amount of time if he didn't do what he was asked. You know, so that to me goes back to Escape from LA kind of thing. So not necessarily like Metal Gear Solid, although it may have happened in Metal Gear Solid. Did it?
Actually, you've watched the Escape from New York and LA films, right? I know at least New York, right, Jake?
I think you showed me one of them. I know I need to watch those. I'm a bad movie geek.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, it's a they are fun movies, especially I mean, they're both fun movies. I mean, ridiculously fun action movies. You don't take them seriously, obviously.
I
Just
still
now, if you
don't
take
know.
it seriously, of course, I don't know what to say.
I still don't know why, but the dude with the cardboard board tank, when he came rushing at him, that part, like, I was laughing my ass off with that, because I was looking at this thing. I was like, wait, what is that? That's cardboard, isn't it? The fuck?
Yeah, that was hilarious because he obviously knew it was like, that's cardboard.
And yes, I do admit that that's one of the reasons why I'm tempted to give that scene a pass, because the dude was clearly an idiot. He didn't realize that cardboard does not provide much armor. And speaking of cardboard, one of my favorite parts was I know this was definitely a nod to the games, was the part where where Liquid is in the machine and he's scanning the area and he sees cardboard box and he scans and he comes back and Snake is standing there and it says not a box.
And that cardboard box goes back all the way to the original games, like the 8-bit games.
Right.
You can actually go in and use the cardboard box to not only hide, but you can load yourself into a truck. And if you're wearing the right cardboard box, you get transported you get mailed basically to different locations.
Nice. Yeah.
But
so I actually got a kick out of it almost looked like claymation for a moment.
With the figure? Yeah.
With the
definitely stop
there. Stop motion.
It's definitely stop motion with models. Yeah. That was fun.
I liked that when the gun swiveled around just a little bit.
You got to respect the work that they put into this film, regardless of how you feel about it. When you look at it, you can definitely see a progression as it goes on through the films we've covered, where they've got. Well, I mean, I'm not sure about the P. Rappa one as opposed to like.
I even think when Dr. Asa, or not Dr. Adam Oslet, his arm got cut off. When it got cut off, I actually didn't think that wasn't a bad effect.
Yeah, they did some of the blood effects. They did the blood packs where the bullets were hitting Meryl.
Yeah, they did very good for having a low budget. And well, of course, there's a reason why they call it low budget espionage.
Low budget espionage.
But and one thing I will give all of these films, and this is one of the reasons why, again, if I were more of a gamer, I'd probably get a lot more out of it. But it's clear that they have a love for the source material.
Oh, yeah.
And that can go a long way with a movie, because it was like if it looked like this, but with this level of budget and all that kind of stuff, and it was made by a studio with people for hire that are just doing a job, it would suck.
Who was the guy who did the House of the Dead movies? Gosh, I can't think of his name, but he is known for he's one that's known for talking about how he doesn't really see any good from the original material. I still like his movies because they're ridiculously bad, because he also did, I think, Alone in the Dark, and he did some really bad video game adaptations, to the point where if you know that he's doing one, it's there. I look at most of these as superior to films like Alone in the Dark or House of the Dead. They're campy, but to me, I feel like these are better in a way, because you can see that they actually give a darn about the source material in all the cases that I see.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the stuff that you do see in here that can be cringy, a lot of it is, again, it's the game. The game is cringy. Looking through it, you got to look at it through 1998 eyes, which that's hard. I mean, I was in community college at that point, so
still friggin' high school.
Yeah, 1998 games were cringy. I remember playing Metal Gear at that point in time. I think on PlayStation, since that was the gaming mode of the time period.
And I'll admit, going all the way back, probably my game, if I had to pick a game that was like my game, it would be probably Super Street Fighter 2. And really, almost all of those characters are pretty much stereotypes of their nationalities. There's not a huge amount of depth or PC-ness to that.
They also have Native American stereotype.
What's that? I can't. What's up?
They also
games that I were. Go ahead.
I was just saying, T-Bird was also a Native American stereotype.
Yeah. But that was a little bit later. But yeah, some of the later ones haven't been a heck of a lot better in that regard. But
I know at that point in time, I was playing Nightmare Creatures 1 and 2. Twisted Metal. I got into Die Hard, the trilogy.
That's actually remarkably good for a license.
Hell yeah! I mean, you had to have a specific gun to go to the third level, because then is what it's like. You had a duck hunt gun or something like that.
Duck hunt was one I was familiar with by then. Okay. And granted, that one's not very flattering in its portrayal of dogs, but
If you want to shoot the dog,
dog's a little jerk.
So I guess we get to the final attack there, when he discovers that the disc is one disc, but you had to heat it, cool it. Do that while he's doing the fight with the Hot Pocket in the kitchen.
And I did
while talking,
right?
While talking to Moneypenny on the phone, So.
Yes.
She had injected him with a virus that was supposed to target and kill the enemies, and then eventually himself. And she wanted to get revenge because he had killed her father.
Brother, I think.
Our brother. Oh, they confuse things.
I thought it was brother. That gets really complicated. But like, the ninja was her brother, who he had killed, who had been trying to kill the colonel, and it's complicated.
Yeah, he didn't exactly tell her that he was still somewhat half alive. But
And incidentally, we should probably mention that the Darrin DeMarco, director of the film, is the one who plays the ninja. But yeah, so yeah, that was an interesting battle scene. I did love using Hot Pockets as a weapon. That was great. And then the graphic and the sound bite they had for each time he inserted the disc into the computer. It was just like, and then the third one, he thinks he stopped it, and in fact, he finds out that he triggered the battle in the first place. Yeah.
Well, it's only right that they should send them in only to launch their secret project, anyways. So
yeah.
But in any case, so we talked about much of the plot. I mean, did we cover most of it, you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, you've got so that scene, of course, was, I guess, just before we have Liquid in the machine, and they blow it up. They think they blow it up, and then you get Snake out on the cliff, and Liquid shows up. He's got Meryl with him, and they have that little confrontation. And this was the part that, again, you can tell me if this is straight from the game. I didn't know what to make of this. Part of me thought it was amusing because I couldn't believe they went there, and part of me was like, I can't believe they went there. And that's the part where Meryl actually shows to the spine, goes right up to Liquid, and just is like telling him off, and he just shoots her in the face. And that's it.
Yeah, because it's kind of that combination of her showing spine and then being the annoying character that she was being shown as, ends up getting killed. Which
and then the follow-up is like he kind of sort of apologizes, and then Snake's like, well, I wanted to do it anyway. It's like, really? I did, like I said, the twisted part of me found that amusing, but
again, that's one of those that if you deal with her through the game and you've had some of those annoying encounters with her or trying to keep her alive when she keeps dying on you for doing stupid stuff, there's always one of those people who just wants to say, that one that I've had that for that escort mission, I want to kill that character. So in a way, their way of taking out all their frustration on all these escort mission characters that they've had to deal with in the past, which turns out to be the Colonel's daughter instead of it's like, yeah, I'm sure she's okay.
Well, actually, it was his niece.
His niece, yeah.
Well, actually, no, he corrects him later in the end. He's like,
true,
actually, it was my daughter, and he's like eating an entire sheet cake.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all having cake, and he deserves it though, because they're all back at the base, not in any danger, and they're having cake. So
to overthrow the Pentagon.
He's already doing his victory dance because he knows his snarky pal Snake will make their day.
Yeah, and then they have this little exchange. They manage to defeat Liquid. They think he falls off the cliff, and then him and Otacon are walking down the beach and whatever, and Otacon's being his usual annoying self. And then Liquid shows up again, and before he can kill them, he dies from the virus. Wait for it.
The coronavirus?
Yeah. And then you've got this thing where Snake's starting to freak out. He's like, oh, wait. Does that mean, oh, shoot. But then I think it's Hunter that tells him, oh, no, you don't have to worry. You're good. And then Otacon just up and dies. And it's like,
like, well, one more.
Oh, might as well.
But,
Yeah.
did anybody actually watch the whole credit sequence? I thought it was
Yeah.
entertaining.
I did.
What's that?
I did watch the whole credit sequence because at the end there they set it up for a sequel, possible
Right.
sequel.
I also liked at the end they said you have gained tuxedo.
Yes.
You have gained. Well, I can't remember the other one, but yeah, they always do that at the end of video games.
Mostly
Yeah.
real items, actually, because you could
Yeah.
get the tuxedo and have Snake do the whole thing.
Right.
Again, James Bond angle. So you can actually have him in the tuxedo sneaking around because it's a stealth game.
Right.
You utilize stealth mechanics, and at the time, that was the peak of stealth games. So it was interesting times, I guess.
Yes.
Now,
I mean, I do like that they had a map that they showed you of the different places that Snake was going to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Between segments here.
And that lent to the nice video game vibe when that showed up. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to say, just as a shout out as we get to the end here, so X-Strike Studios does still sell some of the stuff on their site, but it's kind of janky. So if you go, and I'm not sure if it goes through like it used to, people will have to try it out to see. But if you go to x-strikestudios.com/store/ it takes you directly. The regular homepage is defunct. And they also have a Facebook page because they've been talking about a revival, and they've done some short films, which are pretty cool to watch. But you can still end up buying P-Rappa's Nth Mile Dilemma, Silent Horror, Project Snake, Low Budget Espionage, and Resident Horror. And they are only $5 a piece. And as hard as it is to get to to buy the darn things, and they don't have them streaming to where I can see it, but their YouTube page does have a lot of their short films and off campus. So
I was very lucky to find a copy of the Rumble, River City Rumble, in the wild there. So.
I mean, it's cool to have it because you're owning a piece that, first off, these could not exist today. I mean, in reality, and it's just, to me, it's cool to have them. If you find them, I still say track them down, become a fan of their site. I would love to see what a modern take, looking at society from today's sensibilities, from their interesting sense of humor, might look like. There might not be as much cringe in that sense, but then those of us 20 years from now will look at it and cringe and say, why did we find that socially acceptable back then?
I like the fact that they are diehard gamers. I mean, I like the fact that they know their shit. I mean, they could not have pulled off some of this even in the slightest without having knowledge of the games that they were doing beforehand. I mean, to even attempt to reenact some of these things on any budget, on any level, is kind of a real thing. I mean, it's kind of a real deal. So to do it in any kind of a serious manner as they are doing it while having fun, because you got to have fun while you're doing this shit. You can't not. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, look at what Rampage did. I mean, on a more grander scale.
Sorry, you said Rampage. I had a totally different film in mind.
Well, I'm not talking about the Rampage of that with Dwayne Johnson. I'm talking about the Rampage that Uwe Boll came out with.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different one, but yeah, go ahead.
So
I
But,
think he's thinking about the one I'm thinking about, the
Yeah.
so-called Turkish Rambo.
well, no, that's not Turkish, believe it or not. But there is a Turkish Rambo out
Perfect.
there.
That's what
Not
I'm
that
thinking.
one. Not that one.
Porcupines.
But I'd love to get a copy of that. I do have some Turkish films, believe it or not.
We were amused, like he's walking around with that rocket launcher, just picking up shells everywhere. They're just lying around.
I'm glad to know that you actually have a Turkish thing, so that maybe we can talk about them later on. But
They were
I
interesting.
know I have the Turkish version of "I Spit on Your Grave."
There was a Turkish version.
Star Wars.
Yes.
That was the one that's supposed to be like the ultimate in cheese. The Turkish Rambo was still pretty fun.
So, alrighty. Well, let us talk about favorite scenes. Since we've basically gone mostly through the plot, and all that jazz.
I'm actually surprised this much time.
Jake, if you could take a favorite scene from this film, what would it be?
I believe it's the one I already mentioned with the villain sitting around playing the game, and that one line that Mensa had. I thought that was pretty fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Brandon, what would your favorite scene be?
I love when they just when he starts out and he's doing the codec at the beginning, and they're just running through the whole thing because it sets up the whole thing for me of this is going to be a true video game parody right here then and there. Even if you're not familiar with X Strike, if you're familiar with the basic material and you're watching this, you're going to know what type of movie it is. When he's saying, "Okay, press the B button," and he's like, "So you need to like squint your eye and touch your eyebrow."
Right. I did like that beginning sequence because it was kind of a quid pro quo kind of, humor there. And he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Why do I got to do this shit? Okay, let's do this shit." It's like when Deadpool was like, "Well, let's get our fuck on" or something like that, So, my favorite scene was the tank scene. I'm sorry, that was the fact that he was like, "Snake, I'm gonna get you."
I'm gonna get you.
That redneck Indian charge that he did in a cardboard tank.
Yeah.
I just got a kick out of it because they almost did it kind of in slow motion. And Snake was like, he picked up his gun and he was like, nah. And then he picked up some snow, and that's what knocked him over.
Yeah.
Yeah. and we have to give another shout out to using Hot Pockets as a weapon of destruction.
Right?
They are. You ever try to bite into a Hot Pocket right out of the microwave?
It's like a hot potato. It's like a hot coal, right straight out of the fire.
Right there.
Burn the lip of your mouth, or and your skin just falls off. Yeah.
Lovely thought.
In any case, what did we think about the music?
It's pretty good.
I feel like
actually they had an interesting music featurette, and I felt like I learned a lot from that about how they do low, simple mixes and whatnot. It's pretty cool.
I've always thought
about
that.
Well, he was going on about FL Studios, and I actually am somewhat familiar through my brother, so that was kind of interesting hearing a more professional take on it. Yeah.
Well, the music was done by Alex Esquivel and Jared McQueen, and this was their only movie that they did that on. And what's interesting is the guy who played Snake also did some of the editing for the film as well. So Which to me, I've had conversations with some editors where if you're the guy in charge of the editing, that is like the unwritten director there, the guy shaping the vision for the director if the director's not doing the editing. So, but it looks like Darrin DeMarco and Jake Kwan Shep also did some editing on the film, and Tim Ekabus Liquid did the cinematography for this film.
Right.
So.
Well, like I said, in the commentary I watched, there were several scenes where they kind of traded off as needed, for different tasks. But yeah, as needed.
Alrighty. Was there anything else that we wanted to tap into on this film, or are we pretty much done?
Yeah,
I think we covered it.
Good.
Okay. Well, let's do our short outros before we get into the our next discussion, ladies and gentlemen, because that is the main event of the night. So we're going to be doing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Indeed.
So, Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, or you can just do whatever.
Well, I'll save the long version for later, but I'm Kotobuki Jake. I am the guest host on Septum Sin versus the World, and I frequently play on this channel and Inside Movies Galore. I'm a movie collector, fan, what have you, right here in Central Virginia.
And Brandon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and or do whatever the heck you want to do.
Well, Septum Sin versus the World, and I'm kind of glad that we're getting back to this discussion. I know that's one that we've started it feels like a long time ago, and the end is in sight. So we are going to be looking forward to it. So I can't wait to August where we get to wrap up. Well, not because we're wrapping up necessarily, but just because I think the best is yet to come.
I think so, yeah.
And my name is David Strege. I am a founding father of Inside Movies Galore. So those of you who have been listening along, thank you. I just enjoy talking about films, and Inside Movies Galore is one of those avenues that we go on as a group and talk about films. But we've also kind of been doing that under my Delusions of Grandeur. Let me tell you something about that. I also moonlight there, doing video pickup videos and some other shenanigans with video reviews. So definitely check out some of the trouble that I've been causing on the internet, and check out some of the reviews that I have out there, as well as my newest video, which I believe is of some of the latest stuff, and it's almost up there now. So definitely check that out momentarily. It's of all the stuff that I've picked up within the last month or so. So it's a good time. So in any case, thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. Definitely go check the film out, check the studio out, and we'll be right with you.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm gonna